Good morning. So after 1 month of being on the food photography subreddit, here are some common mistakes that I saw being repeated over and over. So if you're a beginner, this will be a perfect video for you to go over and check if you're making any of these mistakes. And if you are, I'll be telling you why you should avoid them and what you can do to make your photos better. Your first mistake might be that your flat lays are too flat. And by that, I mean, there's no depth. And as are with a lot of photos, the more dimensional your photos are, the better they will look. It's naturally easier for your viewers to be immersed in those kind of photos. And it's easy to mistake, flat lays as only 2 dimensions. Feel free to add a cloth or maybe a plate or maybe a second plate or maybe a third plate to, just add that depth. Just add those layers. Now, before I continue, I do want to put a little disclaimer right here, or like a warning. These are just suggestions. They're not unbreakable rules.
Rules are made to be broken.
They were made to be followed. Nothing is made to be broken.
Piñatas.
Glow sticks.
Karate boards.
Spaghetti when you have a small pot.
Rules.
As a beginner, this should form like your basis. But whenever you're taking a photo and you feel like, your photo would look better if you broke this rule, you broke that rule, then I'd say go for it. The most important thing is that you shoot with intent. And that is why I'm telling you guys the rationale behind all of these mistakes. Off number 2. Second thing you might be doing is that you have too much shadow. This makes your photos look way too dark and it emits too much detail. Bump up that shadow slider in post. Same thing with highlights. You want your milk to look white, but you don't want it to be eye-blinding. Number 3, not filling up the frame. You want your props to be on the edges of the photo, and sometimes you only want like half of the prop in the frame. This makes your viewer feel like there's a lot more going on, on the outsides of the frame than, there probably isn't anything going on, but it helps create that curiosity. Not only do you want to be paying attention to your frame, you also want to make sure that your bowls are full, or your glasses are full, or your cups are full. Creating that abundance will help make your subjects pop. If you don't have enough food, there are a variety of ways to cheat. You can add a smaller bowl inside that big bowl, and then cover up that smaller bowl with food. Or, you can just use smaller bowls and smaller plates in general. If you don't have anything to compare it with, on photos they will look like just regular size bowls. Bad focus. I saw this a lot with hamburgers and sandwiches. Often only the tip of the lettuce or the meat is in focus, while the rest of the bun or the rest of the sandwich is out of focus. If that's happening to you, bump up that aperture. You'd rather have your background completely in focus than parts of your subject out of focus. Distracting backgrounds. I still do this sometimes out of pure laziness. Always make sure you have a clean background so that your viewers' eyes aren't distracted and that they can focus on your subject. Bad color sense. I think compared to other types of photography, color plays a much more vital role in food photography. It's why there's a lot less black and white food photography than there might be, like black and white street photography, black and white architecture, black and white portraits. You want your food to look tasty, and a lot of that is accomplished with natural looking colors. Again, pay attention to white foods like rice and milk. You don't want them to look yellow just because you wanted a warmer tone and change that color, that white balance. Complementary colors are actually great at making your food stand out from the background. Not checking your corners. This is just attention to detail. Before calling it a day, check the corners of your photo and make sure nothing is poking out from the frame or that there are like breadcrumbs or dust. Make sure that all of that is gone. I understand if you're just starting out, there's a lot going around, there's a lot you need to pay attention to, you might feel a little overwhelmed, and then you don't pay attention to that details, those corners. So here's my suggestion. After watching this video, do not try to memorize all 9 of these tips. Instead, pick 2 or 3 mistakes that you're still making, and on your next photo shoot, when you're taking that photo, just keep these 2 and 3 in mind. The next mistake is that you might not be using props, but props are really important to convey the story of the photo, the context. For example, if you're photographing breakfast, you might want to add a newspaper. So, there's context that, oh, this person is reading newspaper. It just adds another layer of interest into your photo. And not only do props help with the story or the context, they help with composition. Props can help immensely by framing your subject or leading your viewers' eyes to it. Again, if you're overwhelmed, just start out with maybe a simple fork and a piece of cloth. I hope this helped. To be honest, I made a lot of these mistakes when I was starting out, and they're not going to take you from like beginner to professional. There's a lot more you need to learn before you get to there, but it should take you very quickly from beginner to amateur, and that's a lot darn closer to professional. So please remember to click that like button and maybe consider subscribing.